Hello, I'm Mark Zeiler, the media specialist at Spaced Coast Junior Senior High School. This brief tutorial is designed for an audience of teachers who are either completely new to Google Docs or would like to learn more about how to utilize some of the basic features of what we would really term Google Apps, which would mean the full assortment or the full suite of collaborative online tools that Google offers. However, we are trying to zero in mostly on Google Documents, or Google Docs for short. And we want to learn how to use Google Docs to help create, organize, and manage paperless information and resources. And we also want to learn how to use it to help facilitate research-based instruction whenever possible. And perhaps most importantly, we want to learn to use it to help foster collaboration between both teachers and students using a readily accessible digital medium. And when I say digital medium, I know a lot of teachers out there are cringing because a lot of us teachers are struggling with a very real challenge of finding both the time and the resources to properly integrate technology into instruction like we're being asked to do in the 21st century. And this is largely where Mark Prensky was coming from when he coined the term technology immigrants. It was a way of describing what happens in educational environments in which we have teachers who are either not up to speed on using technology or perhaps just haven't had the time to develop the comfort level to take the risks that are necessary to integrate technology in the ways that they would like. And so that's where you get the term technology immigrants, because a lot of teachers are using instructional approaches that fail to relate to the everyday way of life for today's new learners, the technology natives. And the technology natives are practically born with iPhones in their hands, iPads in their laps. And I almost think that they think that the use of digital medium is probably every bit as normal and necessary as breathing. So when you think of it from that light, I would really encourage you to take a strong look at Google Docs as an opportunity to integrate technology that is very easy to access for one thing, and also fairly easy to learn how to use once you get started. And if you are completely new to Google Docs, that's the thing. I would encourage you to just take a deep breath and get started. Everyone has to start somewhere. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and that's what I'm hoping this video can do for some of you out there, is at least get you one step in the right direction. And once you begin, and you begin with an open mind, and you continue to learn and practice, I guarantee that you can and you will learn how to use Google Docs in a way that will make your instruction more effective and help reach more students. And that brings us to the learning goals for this tutorial, and I want to start with what our learning goal is not. I definitely do not expect anyone to learn everything about Google Docs and become a master user all in one sitting. More realistically, I hope that teachers will learn some of the basic features of Google Docs to help create and manage instructional materials, also help spur on collaborative efforts among colleagues and students, and also generate some ideas about how you personally, in your personal teaching situation, your classroom, your content area, your students, your unique challenges, how you can utilize Google Docs in such a way that it helps meet a lot of those instructional needs. So the idea is definitely not to work harder. Okay, the whole thing about not working harder, working smarter. Well, all of us are teaching hard enough. We don't want to teach harder, we want to teach smarter. And Google Docs can enable us to do that by developing some proficiency in some of these areas. Before we begin, I'm going to assume that you've already logged on to your Google Chrome account. And if not, you can pause the video and do that. And along those same lines, I would recommend having a couple of windows open on your computer. Okay, on one window, you're watching the tutorial, and on the other window, you've got your Google Docs open. So this way you can actively follow along with the prompts. I've been to technology trainings where the instructor is, clicking a bunch of buttons and going through a lot of features on their device. When I'm not on a device of my own, it's harder for me to retain what's being, asked to learn. However, when I'm actively involved with my own device and following along closely with what the instructor's doing, then I'm able to retain a lot more information when it comes to learning about technology. So also be prepared to pause the tutorial and take any notes necessary for understanding and help to retain the information any better. And finally, when the tutorial is over, I would say that it's not over. Okay, continue learning. There are a ton of how-to videos, some that Google Docs for Education has put out, sorry, Google Apps for Education has put out. And there's also a lot that educators have put out about creative ways they're using Google Docs in the classroom. So continue learning. It's going to be a process, but as long as you start and you continue learning, again, you will catch on. So many benefits for Google Docs in the classroom. One of the things is organization. Okay, I'm going to show you in just a couple of minutes here that you can easily create, organize, and manage information and materials that's very easy to find, and that's where the convenience comes in. No matter where you are, what device you're on, you can access your Google Drive. Collaboration is a big key here. This is a way to help get teachers working together on lesson planning, to get students working together on projects inside and outside of the classroom. And there's also options to create assessments, which is going to be through Google Forms. That's going to be a tutorial I can do in a later video. But just know that you can create pre-tests to access prior knowledge. You can create quizzes to check for understanding. And of course, you can create chapter and end of unit tests to find out what kids have learned. So, there's both formative and summative assessment options through Google Forms. Just want to throw this out there. Google Apps is often compared to the Microsoft Office suite, and the general comparisons are that the Word is very similar to Google Documents, with just a few exceptions with functionality. The Microsoft Excel is pretty similar to Spreadsheet, and the PowerPoint is pretty similar to Presentation. And I only bring this up because everyone has used Microsoft Office, okay, teachers and students alike. So just know, with your proficiency with Microsoft Office, it is transferable to what you're going to be learning to do with Google Docs. So if you have a comfort level with Word, you will have a comfort level with Google Docs. So let's take a look at how to create, manipulate, and organize some. Okay, so this is what my Google Drive is going to look like, and this is what yours should look like too. So the Google Drive is essentially a huge cloud of information where information is stored permanently, okay, unless you decide to delete it. Again, you can access it from any device, and this is the basic overview of it. So this is where you're going to create documents, and you have these options. You can create a folder to sort of organize information. You can create, again, a document would be similar to a Microsoft Word. You can create a presentation, which is similar to the PowerPoint. Spreadsheet would be similar to Excel. Form is what we talked about, just touched on a little bit, where you can create assessments and surveys, and that would be for a later tutorial. And there's also a drawing app there. So just to illustrate how we might be able to use this as a classroom teacher, I'm going to create a folder, and I'm going to title this folder The Classes I Teach. And you see that it appears here. So I'm going to click on the classes that I teach. And now I'm going to create a folder for each class period that I teach. So first period, let's say I teach language arts. Second period, let's say I teach science. I'd be a teacher of all trades here. Third period, I teach social studies. Period 4, I teach math. Period 5, I teach course. Period 6, I teach drama. So this is one thing you could do, is create one folder for each period that you teach. And then think about this as you're collecting information in Google Docs. Let's say you're using this for your first year of instruction, your second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year, and so on. With every passing year, all the information that you store in each of these folders is going to be saved to Google Drive. So it doesn't necessarily make planning easier, but it makes finding the information easier, and it makes organizing the information easier. So within language arts, however you want to break this up, we could break it up into units, for instance. So if I'm teaching language arts, I might have an audience and purpose unit. A research unit. then let's say we wanted to use literature as a way of teaching the 4th unit. So you can organize your folders into units. Same thing with science. Let's say you want to teach about the periodic table. So again, right now I'm just trying to organize information within each class I'm teaching. Okay, and I just gave you a couple of examples here. So then understand within each of these units that you're creating, you can store information. So within the audience and purpose unit, I can create any kind of document. So if I wanted to create a PowerPoint-like presentation, I can begin creating that here by clicking on Presentation. It's going to ask me to create a theme for this PowerPoint. So I'm just going to choose a theme. There you have it. I can title this presentation. Okay, and so also within this, I want to make it clear you can upload files that you already have on your desktop, on a flash drive, and other sources. So if I go to upload a file, opening a tad slow here. Okay, you can find the information that you want to upload. So for instance, if I wanted to do an exit slip, I uploaded that into my file here. So understand, you can create new documents, but you can also upload documents and entire folders if you choose. If you want to upload an entire folder of a unit, you would click on Folder and then find the folder that you want to upload. For instance, if I wanted to upload my MZ folder. And you see that it's copying all the files contained in that folder into my Google Drive. So this is one way that you can go about organizing information to help plan each of your units. And again, as you enter information into Google Drive, it's permanently saved and you can access it from anywhere. So over time, this can be a very beneficial way of outlining your instruction. I want to be sure to touch on how to use the share feature. So for any of the documents that you either create in Google Drive or upload into Google Drive, you can share those documents with anybody you'd like. And to do that, you would actually click on the document. And when you do, it will load in a different window. And after it loads, it'll have a share button at the upper right corner. So when you click on share, you can make some decisions here about who to share it with. So let's say I want to start by sharing it with a colleague. And I need to make some choices here. Do I want the colleague to have full editing rights for the document and be able to do everything with it that I can? If so, I'll keep it on Can Edit. If I only want my colleague to take a look at the document, but I don't want my colleague to make any changes whatsoever to it, they can have this option of commenting. So they can look at it, they can write you comments, but they cannot edit the document itself. And then there's the option of just allowing them to view the document. And if you have it on Can View, they will not be able to edit the document, nor will they be able to send you any messages within the document. So since it is a colleague that I trust, I'm going to say Can Edit, and I'm going to ask my friend here to take a look at this. So when I send it, it's going to send an invitation to my colleague, and I'm actually going to say no here since it's a fake email address, but if it was, I'd say yes, my colleague would receive an invitation to take a look at it, and as soon as they confirm that invitation, that's when they can start making those those edits. And any edits that my friend Joe colleague would make, I would be able to see in my own Google Drive. So that's where the collaboration part becomes pretty nifty. Now, let's say I don't want to share with a colleague. Let's say I want to share with a student. Now, if I'm sharing with a student, more than likely, I'm either going to allow them to comment or just view the document. Okay. And again, I could send this, and if I do, it would send out an invitation to the student. So those are just a couple of examples. Another option we have is we can click on Get Shareable Link. And if we do that, we can copy and paste this link into an email, for instance, and email it out to some colleagues. And if you give them permission, right now it's on Can View, if you give them permission with the link, they can do the same thing as with an invitation that you would send through the email. So those are just a couple of ways that we can use the share feature. Okay, at this point, especially if all you've been doing is watching me click on my Google Drive, I highly encourage you to pause the video and complete each of these exercises. They're real simple. Once you get started, you'll find just how quick and easy it is to get to learn how to use Google Doc and how to use it effectively for your teaching situation. So I encourage you to create a folder for each of the classes that you teach, create at least one document of each kind within those folders, and then choose one of those documents and invite a colleague to share it. And finally, I would encourage you within the folders that you teach to upload a document that's related to one of those classes so you can start organizing information. So again, I would encourage you to pause the video and begin completing these exercises. Okay, so again, we've talked about the share feature. It allows us to exchange ideas and information, not only among teachers, but also among students. And we have begun to touch the surface on teacher collaboration. There's lots of ways to do it. There's a lot of creative things being done out there. This is one very speedy example, less than a couple of minutes long, of a couple of famous folks that are using Google Docs. And as you're watching this, I would encourage you to pause the video and look really closely at the features that they're using to communicate with each other and to help make improvements. This is a Google presentation, which again is kind of like a PowerPoint presentation that they're working on together. So look at the creative use of Google presentations. Okay, I hope that that video helped encourage you to think about some ways that you can use Google Docs and Google presentations to help collaborate among teachers, whether it's planning a unit, Perhaps you're planning a professional development unit together, a professional growth plan. There's really a number of ways that you can use it. Now let's think about it from the flip side. Let's think about it with how we can collaborate, have students collaborating together using this. So in this video, we have a classroom teacher who's finding ways to use Google Docs for collaborative writing exercises that are very creative. So let's take a look at this.
One way that I like to foster collaborative group work is by using the collaborative writing function of a Google Doc. You have the computers here. I'm going to ask you to compose this on Google Docs. A Google Doc is an online document in which all of the authors can share access to that document so they can write simultaneously. And you want to share it with me and the people on your team so that if you don't finish in class, what are you doing tonight? Right? One of the standards in the Common Core is to use technology, including the internet, in order to foster collaboration.
It starts with me saying, good mistress, cost, I desire better acquaintance. Then what?
And it is a standard because we know that our students are going to have to be able to manage these skills in productive ways, and they're going to have to learn some of the etiquettes.
How about, what if we all rough drafted some stuff and then went around and shared it?
Anyone who has ever endeavored to write collaboratively knows how difficult this really is.
Well, when you say it, right, it should be a conversation between him and Viola.
Right. And the reason it's so tough is because writing is so personal, and we all have a very idiosyncratic process. I actually think that Google Docs supports a recursive, healthy writing process because you have the ability to draft and to change whenever you're ready to.
This is a good point to start because it kind of goes to abstract concepts.
As a teacher who wants to give feedback, I can use the comment editor feature. I can leave comments for students. They can make those changes right away, and it actually takes out a lot of the maneuvering of the documents and of the papers. So one thing you could do here is, if you wanted to, you could just make like Viola one color font. It's also really useful, as soon as they share it with me, I also get to be an observer of their process, so I can see which students are contributing, and I have a greater insight into the actual writing process.
That's good.
And one of the best parts is that Google Docs are free.
Okay, sorry about the streaming issues we had at the beginning of that video, but I hope that it shows you the great promise of all the different ways that we could be using this in the classroom. And, remember, the more that you practice, the more ideas that you encounter and try, the more you'll see that there's going to be some really cool things that we can do to help foster collaboration among the students and do it in a very creative way using a digital medium. So I'd like you to take a minute, pause the video, create a Google Doc and title it Collaborative Brainstorming, and then think about some ways that you can actually use some ideas from the videos that we just watched as a way to collaborate not only among your colleagues, but also among your students. So please do pause this video, take a few moments and write down your ideas. And once you've found your favorite idea, give it a try, because there's no other way to learn but to try. Last part of this video, I'd like to introduce a video that I found about a really neat way that a teacher is using research tools in the classroom. So please take a look at this video and think about how you could apply these techniques.
Plagiarism can be a big problem in our schools, but it doesn't have to be. Fortunately, Google Docs makes it easy to insert reference citations, footnotes, and more. For example, let's say I want to write a book report on The Giver. Now, it's been a little while since I've read the book, so I'm going to need to research some more information. To do that, I can click on Tools and click Research right inside of Google Docs. Now, this gives me a snippet of text which allows me to find out more information about The Giver. So now I know the author is Lois Lowry. In addition, I can also scroll down and research other sites for more information. By hovering over a web result, I can either preview the site, insert a link, and even cite my reference. Now if you notice over here, I have a citation that directs me to the footnote that was automatically inserted. In addition, you can also use Google Scholar in order to find the reference citation for a text. So if I click on Google Scholar, it will bring up books and articles with the title of the giver. Now I don't see what I'm looking for, so I'm going to add the author in addition to the title. And I can also click this down arrow, which will allow me to change the citation format. I can choose either MLA, APA, or Chicago. I'll select APA, and it will change the citation format for all of the resources. Now, I find the one I want, and I can either choose to cite as a footnote, or I can insert. I'm going to go ahead and cite as a footnote and insert into my Google Doc. Now, when I scroll down at the bottom of the page, I'll have two citation references. Now, let's say I'd like to find an image. I can select Images, and then I can click this down arrow again to allow me to change my usage rights. Google Docs will automatically be set to not filtered by license. So if I click the down arrow, I can choose free to use, share and modify, even commercially, and I'll get my results here. Now, unfortunately, I get a limited amount of results, so I'm going to have to change my search. I'm going to take out the author and just use the title. Now, I can scroll down, and I find a picture that I'm looking for. If I hover over the picture, I can see where the resource comes from. And if I want to use this source, I can simply just click and drag into my document. Now, since it's in my document, it also added a little citation and also added an additional footnote at the bottom. It lets me know where I retrieved it from so that I can click on that link and find more information, and I can even double check to make sure that it's copyright free. For this particular book report, I might want to find a quote from Lois Lowry. So, what I could do is change the picture or image sign to quotes, and then I could search for a quote from Lois Lowry. When I find the quote I want, I can hover over it and simply click Insert. This will automatically insert the quote for me, and then it'll also create an additional footnote at the bottom of the page. The other tools I could use are the dictionary feature, which will allow me to define a word, or the personal tool, which will allow me to search through all of the content that's in my Google account. So, the next time you have to do a research paper, or the next time you have your students do an assignment, be sure to check out Google Docs for an easy and convenient way to insert reference citations, footnotes, and more.
Okay, hope you enjoyed that video about research tools. And based on what you witnessed in that video, it's a good question to ask yourself how you can envision your students using this in the classroom. To review, we've learned a basic overview of Google Apps, and in particular, Google Docs. We've learned how to use the share feature to support collaboration between both teachers and students. And we also just took a look at how we could use Google Docs as a research tool in some cases. So I hope this tutorial has been helpful for you. My hope for you is that it's gotten you at least a step in the right direction. And I do believe that if you put forth the effort and really practice and learn how to use this, it's going to be a very valuable addition to your repertoire of 21st century teaching skills. Hopefully it helps you teach smarter, not harder. And I wish you a lot of luck with using Google Docs in the classroom.